Olá pessoal, mais uma vez aqui no nosso canal, Rafael Santos. Bem-vindos ao canal, se você não conhecia, muito obrigado por estar aqui prestigiando a gente. Hoje, diretamente de Phoenix, nos Estados Unidos, nós temos uma presença ilustríssima, que é o nosso convidado aqui, o Dale Howard. Então, como ele é americano, MVP, então eu vou começar a falar em inglês aqui e aí a gente vai acompanhar. Eu quero fazer uma rápida entrevista com ele porque é uma figura muito bacana. So Dale, thank you very much for willing to be here with us today.
My pleasure.
I will do a quick introduction about yourself, but of course that you can complement this if I say something wrong.
Okay.
First of all, I would like to say that I am a very fan of you, and I have been watching all of your sessions in project conferences, webinars, reading all of your books. Not all of them, but you know, the majority of them.
Okay.
And it's a pleasure to be interviewing you here for the channel, and I hope that all of the guys in Brazil are going to like this interview, are going to like this, talk that we are going to have. So yeah, talk about yourself a little bit. So who you are, what you do. Tell us about your profile.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Hey everybody. Hi in Brazil. Dale Howard here. I am a Microsoft Project MVP. I am the Director of Education for Sensei Project Solutions. I have been using Microsoft Project now for 20 years. Just celebrated my 20th anniversary. Started with Microsoft Project 4.0 for Windows 95.
Wow.
I'm on year 17 of Microsoft's PPM solution. I started using it when it was introduced as Project Central in the year 2000. I live right smack dab in the middle of the United States in a suburb of St. Louis, Missouri, USA.
Wow, that's nice. That's nice to know. So for those of you who do not know me or who do not know Dale, we work for a company called Sensei Project Solutions. We are both Microsoft Projects MVPs. Of course, that Dale has a long way before me as an MVP, but it's always a pleasure to now work with him and be, sharing this MVP status with him. So that's very nice. Dale, can you please tell us how did you get started with project? So how did you started with this field in the Microsoft project in this area?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. I always like to tell people that I'm in a career that found me. I had a career that chose me. I didn't choose it. Back many years ago, I was working in the technical education team for a large U.S. corporation. I was a Microsoft Office generalist. I taught classes on Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, and so forth. Just taught all those tools, but I wasn't a specialist in any one of them. One night, my next door neighbor, Morris was his name, who also worked for the same corporation. He saw me sitting out on my back porch. He yelled up, "Hey Dale, does your tech ed team teach classes on Microsoft Project?" I said, "No, should we?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Let me come talk to you."
So do you remember what version it was?
4.0 for Windows 95.
I started with 2000.
Yeah. You're just wet behind the ears, man. So he and I talked over the fence and discovered, if I learned Microsoft Project, I could start teaching his people how to use it. It was about 6 weeks later. I learned the tool. We had our first class, and I didn't realize that would help me to launch a new career.
Wow, that's awesome. And I can tell you for sure that I have learned a lot from you, even though I didn't know you in person, a couple of years ago. Following all of your blog posts and your answers in forums, they helped me a lot, and I'm sure that they are helping people out there still in Brazil and many parts of the world.
Sure.
So one question that we always, at least myself, I always get this question is, for a person who is willing or wishing to get started with Microsoft project, and they would like to learn because in their company they are doing project management, and for example, this person might be wishing to manage projects in a more professional way, getting rid of Excel and things like that. So what are your recommendations? What do you see it is the right path and the right way to do it?
Yep, great question. My answer would be, don't do it the way I tried to do it. Now, when I was going to learn Microsoft Project, this came from a history where I had taught myself to use Microsoft Word and Excel and PowerPoint and Access just by playing around with the tools. I was pretty proficient in those tools, so I assumed I could learn Microsoft Project by just playing around with it. The truth is, I got the software installed and I stared at it and realized I didn't even know the first thing to do. Mm-hmm. And I realized, I think I need to get a book. So I bought a book. I bought Microsoft Project, step by step, a Microsoft book.
Yes, I know the book.
Yeah.
I have this book already.
Yeah, I had multiple copies of that book. I read the book, but it's like reading the book taught me the rudiments, but there was nobody there to answer questions for me. Mm-hmm. And then later my boss said, Dale, I think you'd benefit from a class. What if I offered a class for you, and then others here who want to learn it with you can do that, and then you can start teaching your classes? I said, great. That is what really helped. So my recommendation is, if there is any way you can take a class from somebody that knows what they're doing, not somebody who learned it out of a book, but somebody who does this professionally, can teach you the insider tips and tricks, can teach you industry standards and best practices. That is absolutely the best way to learn Microsoft Project.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I got started with Project when I was almost in the same situation as you were. However, I was working for a company that was, a training company back in Brazil. Mm-hmm. And they were basically teaching all of the Microsoft tools, Project, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, Access. Mm-hmm. And I was an Excel expert at that particular time. Mm-hmm. And I remember that I get started with learning not Microsoft Project, but project management in the university. And then I thought, I work for a company that is already a training center, so I should learn project because I would like to get involved on this field. This is very awesome. Yeah. And then I subscribed myself, or I enrolled myself to a training, and then I took the first class, and then I studied a lot, and then I was able to understand and put the points together, because I don't know if you agree with me, but I think learning project has a path to follow, because project is not like Excel, right? That you create a spreadsheet with some columns and rows, and then you put some data in, and then you do some sums, and that's all. Yeah. You have to follow some steps. You have to follow some rules, right? Yeah. If not, you cannot trust your project.
Exactly.
One thing that when I used to teach, one thing that was funny when people were getting started and learning project was that if we had like 10 people in the class and we were doing the same project, all the results would be different. So our cost would be different, and work would be different, and dates would be different. And I used to tell people, this is because you have to follow the steps. You have some steps to follow, so then you can trust your data. Because the worst thing that can do is you create a new project, you present your project to your boss, and your boss says, are you sure that this is what we are going to deliver? This is what we are going to get at the end of the project? Not in a project perspective, but in the software perspective. If everything goes as the software is telling us, is this going to be the result that we are going to get? Right. And I'm not sure if you do have the same perception. Or
I do. But yeah. Absolutely. My philosophy on writing about Microsoft Project and teaching the software is that you have to learn how to use it following the normal project management life cycle. You need to learn how to properly define the project. Then to do planning, you'll do task planning, resource planning, assignment planning, maybe leveling of over allocations. Then you baseline your project and you're ready to go into execution. You'll track progress, you'll analyze variance, you'll adjust the schedule if you're behind. If you don't learn Microsoft Project following that normal project management life cycle, I don't think you'll have an accurate plan, a plan that you could present to your boss and say, boss, this is how it's going to happen.
Yeah, and just to let you know what I did, what I'm still doing in my blog, I created something called, in Portuguese, it's called Project na Prática, would mean something like hands-on in project. So what I do is I create a couple of steps, and whoever has downloaded that file, it's a Word file, they have some steps. They need to set the project start date. They need to define the calendar. They need to do a couple of steps. Then I have a couple of tasks, a couple of resources. They have to do the assignments. They have to save baselines and etc. And at the end of the document, the results are there. So if the person is following all of these steps, they probably get close to the number so that they can understand. Sure. Those are the steps that we need to follow. Yeah. And I am in the version 7 or 8, if I'm not mistaken. So that's something that I am providing to people as I study material. So then for those who are learning, they have some more material, some complementary information they can use to understand how the software works. And every time it gets bigger. So next time I am going to put resource utilization, so people have to do resource leveling and things like that. So that's something.
You're on a roll, man. That is exactly how to do it. And and the point, I guess, about learning from somebody who does it, if you learn from somebody who just read it out of a book, they can tell you what to do, but they cannot answer your questions about what about this, what about that. Why doesn't leveling work? I didn't know there's more than one dependency type. What are these other 3? How do you set them? There's those things that a really experienced user will know and can guide you. And quite frankly, there's things you can do wrong that they can help you to avoid some of those mistakes.
And then having somebody like you, teaching a class, for example, is a huge thing, because they can benefit from your previous experiences, your engagements, your previous engagements with clients. And actually, I think you have the same feeling as I do, but sometimes when people are going to ask a question, you already know what the question is, and you already know at the top of your head what the answer is, because you have passed this before, right? That's something funny that happens to me sometimes.
And the best thing about learning from me is, ladies and gentlemen, I'm funny. My classes will make you laugh.
This guy's the master. So if you haven't had the opportunity to see one of Dale's presentations, what I'm going to do is I'm going to collect some of them which are free and available over the web. I know that there are some in the project conference 2014 something. I'm going to put them all here in the comments. I will put Dale's profile here. You can get in touch with him. And if you do have questions, if you want to learn more about Dale and his work over all of those years in the project field, I am going to share everything here in the comments. So then you can, take the advantage of knowing more about our master MVP, which is really a pleasure to have you here.
Hey, thanks.
And I hope.
It's fun.
And actually, what I'm going to do, if you allow me, is I'm gonna use one of your blog posts and translate it to Portuguese.
That'd be cool.
And then I am just going to post on my blog, so then people can get access to your content as well.
Sounds like fun.
So Dale, thank you very much for
man.
Being here with us today, and I hope you guys had some fun today. I hope that you enjoyed this quick PPM talk, and I'll be talking to you next time. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.